hope everyone is having a fantastic day and you've had a fantastic couple of weeks. It's been a couple weeks since we've been here, and I really want to talk today about listening to your body. And this is a topic that has come up so much in the last couple of weeks because I have been going non-stop. And self-care is really when you have something that you're working toward, maybe a goal or a deadline or whatever. Self-care is usually one of the first things to go out the window. And it's so easy to say, well, I can rest in a little while, or, the famous saying, I can sleep when I'm dead. Here's the thing. It all goes back to mindset. Okay. And so I want to really talk about the concept of rest, recovery, all of the things. Okay. So if you're watching live, go ahead, just drop a hashtag live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, just drop a hashtag replay. Again, doesn't matter when you get the information, just as long as you're getting the information. And I think it's important to really understand the concept of what you eat, what you think, and what you do, because that all comes into the idea and the concept of mindset. And when we have a clear mind, obviously we can make better decisions, all of the things, right? And so over the last couple of weeks, I had a powerlifting competition. I had a huge event out in Houston. And so I was just on the go. And so that meant very little sleep. And I noticed that even last week, I was exhausted when I got back from the Houston event. They not only delayed my flight, so I got back later in the day last Sunday than I had originally planned. But then it was just constant, like you get back up the next day and you just start all over. And I think it's important to be transparent about that, because people think that just because you've had success means you always have it together 100% of the time. And that's just simply not the case, right? I was exhausted last week to the point where I had to take an entire week off of lifting. I hadn't planned on it. As a matter of fact, I had planned on landing on Sunday and going straight to the gym. But I think the universe said, hold up, we're going to cancel your flight, put you on the next one. So you can't do that, for one. But then two, we're going to make you so tired that you have to take a step back and look. And thankfully, I didn't get sick or anything like that. I was just exhausted. And so I really had to take a step back this week and think about how to figure out ways to better approach when you have things like that happening. And, it's all a mindset, right? I got through the events flawlessly. But then towards the end, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, we're tired. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got to chill. And I started noticing things that just stuff I wouldn't normally do. It was like, Carly, what are you doing? And I just want to point out, rest is so important. And we know that, right? We hear it, we talk about it, and we know these things, right? It's I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it. And I think a lot of that came with, while I was in Houston, we had a whole house full of people and it was a blast. But fast forward, it probably would have been a better choice to stay with either by myself or maybe just with one person, because you get more rest that way, right? And so just little things like that. Not saying you don't go to the events, not saying that you don't, you don't do a little bit more and push yourself a little bit more, but you just kind of have to look at that stuff and really organize and figure out what makes the most sense. And I think it's also really important to make sure we're planning our days the night before. And I did that. So I think that's why I wasn't like totally overwhelmed. But then we also have to be able to navigate when things change and when schedules change, or when maybe something doesn't go as planned and we have to alter. And a lot of that stuff happened, right? I had a flight cancellation, I had some other things that happened, and it just was crazy. And so you have to be able to shift with a positive attitude, which brings me to my next point. So I was with my trainer today lifting weights, and he said that a lady had reached out to him wanting to be trained, and he was like, listen, I only train people with good attitudes. Like, I don't have time for the negativity. I just don't need it. Right. I only train people with good attitudes. And he said to me, he's like, you complain about some of the workouts we do, but you do it with a good attitude. And I do, I'll complain, but I say it kind of jokingly. I'm still complaining, but I'm joking about it. And I still do it. Right. I show up, I'm consistent. And that's why when things like that happen, it's a little more noticeable. Like last week, it was like, whoo, I ended up in just kind of what really brought it to my attention was I double booked a plane ticket that I had to buy. I had already purchased it, but I bought it again. And it was like, I don't think I've ever done that. It was just like, holy cow, I forgot. I just totally forgot that I bought it already. And so then when I turned around and bought it again, then I'm looking at my upcoming flights and I'm like, wait a minute, there's two of the same there. It was just like, okay, you got to take a step back, take a deep breath, do some meditation, and figure it out. And it reminded me of the Disney movie Pocahontas. That's why I titled this class Listen with Your Heart. And obviously can't play the music on here because YouTube will flag it and whatever, but go look it up, right? The Grandmother Willow song in Pocahontas, and it talks about listening with your heart and you'll understand. And that is such a profound, I've always loved that scene of the movie. That's one of my favorite Disney movies. I'm not a huge Disney fan, but that's one of my favorites. And that is my favorite part of that movie, when she's talking to Grandmother Willow and Grandmother Willow starts singing the song about listen with your heart. And I think that's such a subliminal message that we have to really be in tune with our bodies and be in tune with what's going on around us if we really want to make progress. And, that's the concept in business of slowing down to speed up. And even with your health, sometimes you got to slow down, take a step back to speed up and enhance your progress. And that's what I'm doing right now. I have not squatted with the regular bar in months. We're slowing down to speed up, because if and I've got a competition coming up in less time than I'd like to know or like to admit, but these are things that you have to figure out the fundamentals and the basics, slow it down, take it back to the building blocks. And we did that a few weeks ago, is talking about back to the basics to really start to speed up. And I think too, that's where a lot of people stall in their progress. I say all of what I already said to tie it into this, right? We know what to do. We know the formula. But a lot of times we get so wrapped up in trying to make it creative and trying to make it amazing that we just simply forget to go back to the basics and make it simple. There's a reason Catherine called it simple fat burn. It's a simple process. And if we just slow down for half a second and think about it and not try to get crazy with the creative recipes and creative substitutes, just eat real whole foods. And listen to how your body responds. And how can we do that? Tracking. We can literally listen to how our body is responding if we track it, because we can see what the progress is. I wrote it down. I know what I ate. Did I gain or lose? Simple as that. How did my body handle that? Right? I know now with my condition, I can't eat salads several days in a row because I won't feel well. But I only know that because I've tracked it. And I said, man, after the second, third day in a row of eating a salad, I'm like, I don't feel well. And then that puts me out of commission. So I'm like, okay, listen, if I eat a salad today, I can't have a salad tomorrow. And that's not the case for most people. That wasn't the case for me before I got sick, right? I used to eat salad all the time. I can look back in my food logs and it was salad every day. I felt great, but I can't do that anymore. And that's okay. I know that because I track. And so if that's the case, I'm listening because I'm tracking and I'm adjusting. I know that I have to go heavy on the protein, light on the vegetables. That's what's going to work well for me. And then fish and egg whites. That's always something that works fantastic. Do I always want to eat fish and egg whites? No, let's be real. Not everyone does. But I also came across an Instagram video that somebody was talking about their treat meal being a treat item. And people are in the comments saying, well, that's not fully a cheat, whatever. And it was like, she understands the concept of having a treat item, but then staying on track the rest of the meal, just like we talk about. And she was like, look, she's like, for me, it is a treat. And I still did more than I normally would do, but then I got right back on track. And then she made the comment that, well, if you want to have the toned muscle and whatever, you've got to eat like you have the toned muscle. And so it was an interesting video. And again, she's tracking, she's listening to her body, she understands. She wasn't saying that everybody else needs to do what she's doing, but people were asking her what she does and she just shared it. And then people attacked her for it. It was just like, she said, you asked. I told you. I wasn't even, she's not even like a fitness influencer, but she was just sharing because people had asked. And so anyway, I say all that to say, sometimes we just overcomplicate things and we need to just slow down. And that was a wake up call for me this last week. It was, Carly, you need to slow down for a second. So I took a good amount of the day off today. I still worked out, still did some work, and still am doing some work. Obviously, I'm here, but I took a good chunk of the afternoon off to just do nothing. Right. And while I was scrolling, doing nothing, I came across somebody's post that said, this is what I built this for. I didn't build it to grind all day on Sundays. I built it so I could enjoy Sundays. And he was talking about his business, of course. But, I think the concept of we work hard and we do what we need to do so that when we do need to slow down for a second, we can understand and slow down for just a second. And so I want you to really take a look at your calendar this week and see how much white space. Catherine always talked about having white space in your calendar to just be able to be. And I want you to really tune in on your meditation practice or whatever and fill that white space with things that bring you joy. Like we know I love baseball, so I watched the whole Braves game today. It's not something that I've done in a long time, where I've done nothing else but watch the game. And it actually went into extra innings. How cool was that, right? It was the one day I said, hey, I'm just going to watch it. I'm not going to do anything else. Not going to work while I do it. Nothing. And so I think that's what we really need to focus on this week, is slowing down to speed up. And again, that's that back to the basics concept. So your assignment between now and next Sunday is I want you to get very clear, where's that white space in your calendar? And then during your meditation and your gratitude practice and all that, I want you to fill that white space with something that brings you joy and something that you want to do. All right. So for just listen with your heart, right? That's the whole point of this call, is to figure out what is it that your body needs to be able to slow down in order to speed up your progress. All right. So I will see you back here next Sunday, fully refreshed and ready to go. Put your white space activity in the comments if you want to. Send it to me on a text message. Let me know in your coaching session. But whatever you do, enjoy your week this week. Slow it down so that we can speed up the progress. Get back to the basics. Really listen to your body. Track so that you know what it is that you need and what it is that's working for you. So I'll see you back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. And until then, I will see you on your coaching calls or in the comments.